Welcome in, Believe in Commanders. I'm Anthony Armstrong. That's Scott Jackson. We're brought to you by FanDuel on the Believe Network. A little impromptu intro, but nonetheless, we're here. What's going on, Scott? How are you?
Very good, man. Good to be with you. We all should tell everybody like, comment, and follow, obviously, here on the network. And again, appreciate the folks at FanDuel. So I don't know if you've been doing this because, we're still, 2 weeks away from training camp starting. So it's the season of lists, as I like to call it in the NFL, where, the top 100 comes out. You got these other things. ESPN's been doing it, I think, for 7 years now, where they get these executives and GM, different people from like coaches, coordinators, scouts to break down the top 10 guys at every position. They kind of throw guards and centers together. So they have interior there, but they have the tackles, obviously, an offense, the receivers, running backs, et cetera, quarterbacks. Anyway, so they've gotten through most of it. I think they still have to do off-ball linebackers, safeties, and there's wide receivers, which is a big one. But they dropped the quarterbacks today here on Monday as we record. And, it got me to thinking about this, because the Commanders to this point have only have Laremy Tunsil inside the top 10. He's number 5 among the tackles in the NFL. Jayden Daniels, although, played a handful of games last year, right?
Yeah.
Is literally just on the outside of the top 10 looking in with Sam Darnold. They're 11 and 12. And I thought it was interesting, and I think it's something that you and I have discussed in the past. Do you have to have a team that's loaded with these all-pro candidate kind of players? Or, can the sum be greater than the equal of its parts? You know what I mean? Is that more important for a football team? But let's start it there before we get into some of the things you said about Jayden and obviously Tunsil. But what do you think about that? I mean, is this like when you don't see a team that has, but a couple guys mentioned, you're like, oh man, that roster can't win? I mean, how do you kind of look at that as a former player?
Man, I feel like as a former player, it's a disrespectful thing to think that you can't have success as a team without having star players, right?
Right.
Business-wise, marketing-wise, that's where they want to have players all in the top 10. And sure, having more talent should help you succeed, but it's not guaranteed, right? You mentioned it. There's teams in our division that have great players, but they don't always make it to the top parts or the deepest parts of the playoffs. So sometimes you can hit it and have a right season and everybody be in the same track, Scott, and just be focused on one same goal and just everything falls in line for you. Like the 2024 season for the Commanders.
Sure.
Like, frankly, I don't think there'd be very many top 10 players off of that roster, no disrespect. But the way they were rolling off wins, you don't apologize for it. You allow that stuff to happen. And it doesn't mean that you can't have success. It's nice to just have a few extra guys, a team to worry about, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at that team, maybe Terry got in the top 10 that year. Certainly, you had, Bobby Wagner was. I think Luvu was. But I think that was it. I mean, I think that's the end of the list there, because certainly at that time there was obviously no Tunsil here. The tackles were not, people that blew you away in terms of who they were, but yet were effective enough as a unit. So it is interesting you bring that up, because I think that's a good example. Whereas like on the annual, Dallas is going to have a bunch of guys in the top 10 in a lot of different positions. And obviously we know that they're in the desert in terms of postseason success as well. So, Philadelphia, they have both their starting tackles, which is incredible. They have a right tackle, Lane Johnson might be the most valuable player, which is wild. And of course, last year they had both the receivers, in that top 10 range, and they were disaster for whatever reason. So, and they obviously have Saquon Barkley, who's a top 5 running back. I think he's top 3 this year. Obviously he was top last year. So, and again, this is based off of a lot of like right now, like expectations. And I do think it's a nod to Jayden, though, that he's still considered by these people that watch the game and live the game to be among the top 10 or right outside the top 10, despite barely playing last year.
100%. That lets you know that your number 2 overall selection was right? You scouted him correctly, and they also understand last year was just kind of an abomination. You just have to say that those things happen sometimes. You write it off, and if you had to start over right now, they'd still make those selections. And I'm glad. I would too. I would too. The guy is uber talented, right? Uber talented. But now when you get everybody back together and whole and and hungry. I'm not saying a lot of these guys are going to be hungry to be on the position and take that as a slight, say we're going to play extra hard this year. And ain't like guys will see that list And then they'll be like, oh, for real? Oh, okay, bet. And there'll be a few guys that probably put up in their locker, and use it as a little bit of motivation, but that's not their main goal to get back on the top of that list, right? We want to get wins, right? Get off of that 7.5 that's over there at FanDuel. They got that whole range as low as 5.5.
I hate that number. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would tell you this much. If the team got more W's, they wouldn't worry about being on the top 10 list. I know that much.
That's a valid point. So let me read you a couple of the comments off of the Jayden Daniels honorable mention. One NFC exec, I know he was hurt in 2025, but I think this is the year he really makes his stamp, and he's the guy we're all talking about as having taken the next big step. Such a good decision maker and very accurate. So that's one NFC exec. Yeah, I love it. NFL personnel evaluator says, I would still take him over the other quarterbacks from the 2024 class from a pure quarterback decision-making standpoint. Okay, so the other quarterbacks in that class, by the way, Caleb Williams just made it in at top 10. He was not ranked last year. Drake May also makes it in at number 8. He was not ranked last year either. So there's the first time he's been in there, and he was in at number 5. Excuse me, he was in at number 8, not 5. That was so he's in at 8. So again, those are the top guys. Nix didn't make it. He got votes, but he wasn't even in the honorable. So that gives you an idea of how, again, these evaluators and the people around the league see it. Even with, the down year, they can obviously see that, hey, look, Jayden Daniels is healthy. He's going to be good, right? But again, there's a big part, right? Like the healthy, it's not a simple snapping your fingers. It's about, and I think a lot of us like the direction we think this offense will head into, right? To make sure that there are more moments to keep him upright and take away some of the danger of playing this position, which is obviously, it's always a risk for injury. But I think in his case last year, we just saw too many circumstances where he was just like, what are we doing to this guy here? He's already beat up and he's running out here in space, and linebackers are cutting him down. I mean, it's crazy. Get cut his legs. I mean, 100%. The Green Bay game late. Like, what are we doing here? The Seattle game late. Same thing when it was way out of hand. So those are the things I think that ultimately cost Cliff Kingsbury's job, frankly, from my opinion.
A lot of it, and the inability to, enforce some change and then be willing to change your play calling a little bit, help the quarterback out with that, So all in all, seeing Jayden Daniels make it on this list next year is going to come down to how David Blau runs the show. How do you, mix in the runs and the passes? And then, on Jayden's side, the experience, right, from year 1 and year 2. How are you going to approach that? We've mentioned it before. Like, I would love to see you take 2 or 3 more incompletions rather than trying to make those rushing attempts where you're trying to make a hero play in the first quarter where it doesn't really matter, right? This isn't like soccer, World Cup been going on where it's like, hey, this is our one chance to make a run. We got to make the cross and put it in. Like, hey, man, we got 60 minutes of football. Second quarter still going to be here. You still got a second down, third down. So let's be a little bit smarter and take care of your body. It's like when you watch those strikers, you're watching Holland and you're watching Ronaldo. I'm sitting there looking, I'm like, they're just doing a lot of walking right there in the middle. Messi as well, right? Yeah. They're like a lot of walking, but right when it's time for them to strike the ball, they're ready to go and they're on top of it. So with Jay, I want to be a little bit more like that, right? First down, and if we're handing it off, second down, do what you got to do. But then when it's time, when the lights come on and the shine's the brightest, we know who Jayden Daniels is. He's going to show up and he's going to show out, Scott.
Absolutely. Believe in Commanders podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, and we are brought to you by FanDuel. Scott Jackson and number 13, Anthony Armstrong from Washington Redskins wide receiver. And let me go through this quarterback list. I think there's something important that I thought about with this list when it came out, and I kind of figured this is the way it would go. But Josh Allen's number 1. Okay, not a big surprise there. He was 2 a year ago. Patrick Mahomes was 1 last year. He's 2 this year. Of course, he got hurt at the end of the season. They had a miserable year, the Chiefs did. Number 3, Matt Stafford. So he's up from like 6 last year to 3. He had obviously the MVP of the league last year. And that's not surprising. Joe Burrow slides a spot. He's to 4. He was 3rd last year. Lamar Jackson, who was 4th last year, is now down to 5. And Dak Prescott is at 6. Last year, he was not even ranked. Think about that for a second. Now, of those top 6, and then I'll throw in Justin Herbert's at 7 as well. Of those top 7 guys, you look at them, I would be, okay, I think Dak's going to have 2 of his receivers in the top 10 at wide receiver. Joe Burrow's going to have that as well. Maybe Maybe T. Higgins is in the outside looking in, but we know Jamar Chase is going to be on that list. But, you go back down here, like guys like, and Stafford will too, Nakua and Devontae Adams will be close.
That's 6 receivers from 3 quarterbacks.
Right.
And that's half the list, over half the list.
Could be, or they're in that range, right? Maybe not all in there. But it'll be interesting how they treat George Pickens. But Josh Allen certainly is not going to have any of his top receivers on the list. Patrick Mahomes sure as heck isn't, right? Lamar Jackson's not either. Certainly Justin Herbert's not going to have any of the Chargers receivers on that list.
Probably. So, maybe an honorable mention, maybe.
Yeah, maybe an honorable mention. I think and Drake May's another one. He's at 8. He's not going to have any of these guys on his list. Ross St. Brown, who is Jared Goff's receiver at number 9, he'll be on there, but Jameson Williams isn't going to be there. And then, Caleb Williams, I don't think any of their receivers are making it either. He did have a tight end on there with
some honorable mention. I think from a couple of guys there for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But my point is, for everybody who's like, oh my God, how can the Commanders even function as an offense without, more of these top level wide receivers, even though Terry's, off of the year he's not going to be in the top 10, but he certainly, when healthy, has been on this list before.
You don't think so? You don't think Terry gonna make it?
Not after last year with the injuries, missing a lot of the season last year. But he's going to be maybe on the out. He'll maybe gotten votes or mention. Yeah, he'll get that. But anyway, my point is like this whole thing that you have to have like, oh my God, you got to have the posse back here again, which would be wonderful. Don't get me wrong; it would be great if you could bring those guys back in their prime, and have that level of 3 receivers, but not really realistic in the salary cap era. And we can talk about whether the Bengals and the Cowboys are doing the right thing by locking up all that money in 2 players at receiver, especially in the Bengals case, and their defense is so bad, right? And their offensive line wasn't great either, and Joe Burrow's getting injured all the time. Does that really make any sense? But so I don't know. I just think it's interesting, again, guys like these elite quarterbacks, and we think Jayden is going to be one of those guys, right? Eventually.
Yeah. 100%.
They are, force multipliers, what everybody loves to say now, right? The force multiplier kind of player. And so, you're seeing that with Lamar, with Allen year after year, certainly with Mahomes over the years too. And it's not like those teams haven't tried, right, to get those players. They've drafted at the position. They've thrown money in free agency. Maybe this year with Allen, getting DJ Moore, that'll be the difference. I don't know. I mean, but the Bears, they came off a really good year, and they're like, yeah, you can have this guy. So, you got to be interested.
I feel like Buffalo gonna go through that same. They've always had like a receiver. Like they every time they try to write it off, like he needs more receivers. They had 1,000 yards from Stephon Diggs, right? So they have producing receivers. It just isn't conducive to for them to put a lot of money at that position, just because of the way they play the game. Like you see it, it's a lot of Superman ball, and
a lot of broken play.
He's making a lot of better decisions with it, with how he handles himself, but. It's still not something where they run it through one receiver all the time. So
no.
I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen over there. He'll have a good season, DJ Moore will, but I don't know. I think Terry could be, in the mix, right? FanDuel has him for plus or minus 900 yards, 900.5 over there for a play. And then they have Jayden's passing yards at 3,200 and a half and 20.5 touchdowns as well over there on FanDuel. So I think those things can happen. I think Terry could be definitely honorable mention, but, should really be in consideration to make that 9-10 list, when people consider what he's done and his impact for this team just over the past few seasons, right? So it's going to be tough for sure, but all of these lists and those teams you mentioned, that's what folks have been asking for a number 2 receiver. But if you list those teams, obviously the Rams, they did what they did, but the Bengals haven't had much playoff success.
No.
So you're trying to build a team now. If you're trying to market it and play Madden, okay, I get it. Go get us a big 99 overall receiver to line up opposite Terry McLaurin. Otherwise, let's focus on AP building this roster out so that you can actually go win some ball games.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when the receiver list comes out. Like, how do they grade AJ Brown right off of last year?
Yeah, that's coming out on the 15th. So if y'all are wondering, so these are dropping.
Next episode, we'll be able to talk about it. Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, the 14th. Tomorrow's off-ball linebackers. Like, so Luvu, you think Luvu could be there? Maybe not. Probably not. I don't think.
Probably not off of last year. No, I don't think so.
He'd love to be back on there.
Yeah, I think he wanted to be back on there.
Really high after the 2024 season. He was way up there.
He was way up there.
Good about
then
that.
then they had Obviously, Bobby was in there as well, and top 10 is. So they had those two guys. I think if you go back then, it was them and obviously Jayden and Terry, and that was it. It wasn't like people were voting up, anybody else. So the team was, those guys were so big that year. But I think it's been interesting listening to Luvu in the offseason. He clearly didn't feel good about last season and how it went down and all those things. And this defense seems to be perfect for him, right? Like, you can let this guy, he's got speed and attack and space. And even when Durante Jones was hired, I think we've talked about this a few times, but I thought it was really revealing when they go, what jumped out at you about the Commanders defense? And he said the speed and the youth, all the things we didn't think they had, right? But then he named a bunch of guys and you're like, okay, well, this guy didn't get that many snaps, right? Or this guy had a down year, whatever it was, right? But again, they add a lot of speed. They add a lot of youth. It was our friend Doc Walker was here on the other day. Did he call him the AARP defense? Is that what he was referring to?
He had me laughing so hard. I've been getting letters in the mail too, Scott. I am not cool with that either. Get the mail. It's like, hey,
you love
Anthony Armstrong. I said, excuse me? Yeah. No, sir, not yet.
By the way, I don't know if this will happen to you anytime soon, but this has happened to me now twice in the last month. I go grocery shopping at a certain chain in this state of Virginia that's in the Carolinas and a few other places that might rhyme with Laris Meter. And they have one time they just gave it to me on senior discount day and I didn't know what it was. I said, why did that money just come off at the end? And my son is laughing. And we get to the parking lot. He goes, dude, they give you senior discount, Dad. And I was like, man, that's not cool. And then last time they asked me, before I could say no, like really mad, my wife goes, yeah, he's senior. And they took it off again.
Hey, so anyway, you're a walking coupon, man. You might have to lean into that.
I don't know, man. It's pretty hurtful, but because I'm still like 5-6 years off of it, But anyway, it's all good, man. It's all good for what they use as a qualifier. But anyway,
sometimes, you get flattered when you get carded every now and again, don't you? I get a little flattered.
I actually get annoyed now because I don't have my license. But I'm a license. I'm like, come on, give me a break. I'd love to be your grandfather. What are you talking about?
I just went to Larry's Meter and they asked me if I was a senior, and now you asked me for my daggone ID.
Right, and you tell me I can't buy beer here? Come on, kid.
It's the lighting, man.
I know, definitely. It's all about that. All right, Believe in Commanders, brought to you by FanDuel, part of the Believe Network. Scott Jackson and number 13, Anthony Armstrong with you. Looking through, again, the season of lists, ESPN's done these. And so far, just Laremy Tunsil standing at number 5 among the top tackles. By the way, do we find that to be insulting for Laremy Tunsil to only be number 5 among the tackles?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe, we could try to fight for maybe another couple of spots. Let's go look and see. I got to go look and see who's on there. Because obviously I'm thinking you're going to have some Trent Williams.
Trent Williams is number 2, I remember, offhand. Number 1 is Tyler Smith. No, that's the interior. What is that? Why did the interior just come up? I hit the wrong thing.
I got you. Here we go. Penei Sewell.
Penei Sewell, that's right. Penei Sewell was number 1.
Not mad at that. Trent Williams, number 2. Not mad at that. He's up from 4. He was 4 last year. Tristan Wirfs is at 3. He was 1 last year. Jordan Mailata is 4. He was 5 last year, so he's hanging around. And then Laremy was at 7 last year, and he's up at 5. So I'm not really mad at that. You know what I mean? He made his move up. I probably would be more upset if he was dropped down to 5 for some reason. But he's moving up, and those names that you picked up there, like if I had a fantasy draft on Madden, I would pick a few of these cats. Like I wouldn't be mad at any of those guys, Laremy Tunsil included. Darnell Wright is at 6. Lane Johnson, you mentioned Andrew Thomas from New York, Joe Alt, and then Garrett Bowles rolls it out. But I don't think it's a disrespectful thing. He's moved his way up, but he's definitely something where he's saying, hey, man, I need to be up there, up there with Trent, up there ahead of, those guys, ahead of Jordan Mailata, ahead of a Tristan Wirfs, you know what I mean? So, Laremy is a guy that's been holding it down this league for a while. And he always prepares the right way. So I'm excited to see how he attacks this season and climbs this list for next year.
One of the comments on Laremy Tunsil from an NFC executive, underrated to me, bulletproof in both phases. He has another gear that others don't. Still violent. They also put this stat out here. He gave up 4 sacks and 393 pass blocking opportunities last season, 91.5 pass block win rate. And to his credit, get this, just 5 penalties. Remember the whole thing when he's coming over from the Texans? Oh, man, this guy's going to drive you crazy. He gets penalized all the time. 17 last year, but something about last year's offensive line here in Washington, only 5 after having 17 the year before. So certainly a much more consistent year. Now, he got the bag, as the kids would say, this offseason. And did show up to OTAs, which he normally doesn't. So I think that was huge. Yeah. So we'll see what this year brings. But you mentioned a couple guys in the division, obviously. Jordan Mailata in the division. The other one that jumped out to me, Lane Johnson, was number 3 last year, but obviously he was hurt a lot of this past season. So he fell down to number 7, but still, can you imagine having both your right and left tackle in the top 10? That shows you why the Eagles have been so successful and why they've been running the NFC East.
You can feel comfortable as hell. And it's what's so frustrating is that they have the best tackles, two of the best tackles in the game, but their best running play is a damn quarterback sneak. That is a shame, man. They got to pick something else. Do something else. Like, you got so much. They're a talented team, man. And like, we got to respect them because they've been at the top of the NFC East for years.
The team to beat.
And until we can knock them off, in week 1, you got them on the road -4.5. It's on FanDuel. We got to see what this team is going to do. But I wanted to go back to real quick on Laremy. Yeah, how he can make his way up this list. And this can probably be a whole other episode after some studying. But if this scheme is anything similar to outside zone, Ben Johnson, look at the people that are on the list.
Yeah,
Darnell Wright's on the list. Who was his coach? Ben Johnson. Penei Sewell, who was his coach? Ben Johnson. Trent Williams didn't work with Ben Johnson, but outside zone scheme. So you're seeing something that's going to lean into his athleticism. You don't have to just back up and take one-on-one blocks with some top flight defensive ends like you do in this division. You can work the edges and try to do outside zone. Makes it a little bit easier on him as a blocker. So you could see him really ascend this list, man. I think this is a great scheme for Laremy Tunsil with what he brings, and frankly, this whole offensive line. You wanted to mention who else could be on this list from the offensive line. Did we talk about Sam Cosmi already?
Well, yeah, I think he could be. Of course, he missed some time, with injury as well, coming back. But Cosmi did not make the interior guys. But I think, look, we've seen Sam Cosmi at his best, and he's violent. He's nasty. He got a nasty disposition. I think this year, another guy who, going back to what you were talking about in this scheme, he's athletic, man. He can get out there in space and really, road grade some people. So I think that's exciting for him. And I think Josh Conerly, and I know it's hard to be a right tackle on this list out if your name's not Lane Johnson, but I think, he's got a real shot to take a huge step this year. And I thought he played well last year. I mean, it was baptism by fire, obviously, early in the season. I mean, that guy had a face like the who's who of defensive ends, like in the first month of the season. It was insane, right? And the kid, he didn't lose confidence. He's looks like he's in better condition this year. So I'm excited for him. He's got the right disposition and mentality to be a real good tackle in the NFL.
100%, man, 100%. It's going to be a good season for this squad. And it's just going to start here on August 1st when training camp gets rolling, just a few weeks away. Everybody's getting that last little vacation in, fine-tuning your body, making your arrangements, tell your baby that you love her, go give her a kiss. It's time. Go and shut them social media accounts down. I know that comes up too, man. Lock them suckers down because it's time to focus, man. It's time to get to work. Season is right around the corner. I'm hyped for it, man.
Me too, man. Well, we're hyped for it. We'll talk to you here in a couple more days with another episode and probably more lists to break down. Believe in Commanders brought to you by FanDuel, part of the Believe Network. Anthony Armstrong, Scott Jackson, please like, comment, and follow, and we will talk to you next time.